Dave Palumbo here with another RX Muscle Rant. Today's topic, I'm going to talk about the history of synthol. That's right, site injection oils, where they came from, how they got started, and where they've evolved to at this point. Really, it's the story of Chris Clark, who's an ingenious inventor. Back in, I guess you say, the 80s, early 90s, what guys would do to help give their muscles a little bit more of a rounder, fuller look was use an anabolic steroid known as Esicline. It would come in a little tray with 10 vials, and it would have it was like a brown tinted vial, and there was 2 cc's of fluid in there, and you'd crack it off and you'd pull it up into a syringe, you put it into an insulin syringe, and you'd inject different body parts, like maybe like 1 to 2 days out from a bodybuilding show. Some guys would do it the same day of the show. But what you do is, it was a small amount. It was like a half cc maybe of fluid into the muscles. And you know, if you had good genetically round muscles, it made them look a little rounder and a little bigger. And if you didn't, it probably didn't do very much of anything except just leave you sore everywhere that you put the stuff. And it caused an inflammatory reaction. So it was a temporary little bit of size that some people had. And some people exploited it, you know, really well. Some people didn't do a good job with it. But there really wasn't, it either worked or it didn't work. There wasn't like any major disasters you can really do because no one used, it wasn't a lot you were using. Then Chris Clark, he was actually an American-born guy who moved to Germany when he was a young man and grew up there, speaks fluent German. A lot of people think he is German. He's actually American, but he's been living in Germany his pretty much his whole life. He told me, you know, I became friends with him in the mid-90s, and he told me he was sitting on the toilet one day, and this is a true story, and he came up with this great idea. And he started testing out different oils, inert oils. First he started actually with oils that weren't inert. Now the term inert means it doesn't react with anything. So I think the first oil he tried to use as a site enhancement oil to enhance the size of the muscle was mineral oil, which is terrible because it's immunoreactive, meaning the immune system will recognize it and attack it, or maybe not recognize it. And the problem is that you get fevers and flu-like symptoms, and it's terrible. Now, the reason he used mineral oil first, because he figured, well, a thicker oil would probably last longer inside the muscle. As he started using himself as a guinea pig and progressing and realizing that these weren't working, he started eliminating different oil choices. And he realized that if you added certain carriers, protein carriers, to the oil, okay, it lasted longer and it helped deliver the oil to the muscle cells. So a lot of people think that, you know, site injection oils, and probably most of them on the market, are just volumizing agents. You're just putting oil into the muscle. But Chris thought that there was a better way to do it. In other words, put the oil into the muscle, let the muscle get some volume, but then also deliver, you know, nutrients, hyperfeed the muscle. And when you hyperfeed the muscle, something that it can utilize very rapidly as a fuel source, it stimulates anabolism in the muscle. In other words, the muscle actually grows. And they've done MRI studies with Chris's product in Europe, specifically in Holland, and they've shown that where this oil has been applied on a regular basis, even not even a lot of it, like a cc, like a couple times a week, new muscle was growing into that area because it was creating a positive partitioning effect in the muscle. In other words, the muscle was actually being fed nutrients that it can use, and it was using that to create an anabolic state in the muscle. And you know, there's more science to it, and specifically how these protein carriers deliver these fatty acids, and how the muscle cells themselves will respond to the fatty acids by releasing enzymes known as lipoprotein lipase to break down the oils into smaller pieces so that the cells can take them up. So you're hyperfeeding the muscle. The muscle is temporarily getting a volumizing effect, but it's also long-term getting a growth effect. That's why when people ask me how these oils work, you know, how, you know, Chris Clark's synthesized pump and pose works, it's a long-term project, really. You get short-term results right away, but long-term you build muscle. So the best way to use it is long-term. The longer you use it, the more permanent the gains are, because what you're doing is you're getting real muscle growth. It's not how long the stuff stays in the muscle that's important, it's what it's doing when it's in the muscle. So actually, people who eat this stuff up, whose muscles eat the product up faster because they have a faster metabolism, actually get more muscle growth from it. And I know I benefited a lot in my calves and my arms coming up through the 90s into the early 2000s. You know, obviously I was using the original product, and I still use I don't still use it, but I still sell the original product on DavePalumbo.com. I'm actually the only distributor, or one of the only distributors worldwide. There are a couple people that do sell it, but the Chris Clark product is special in the sense that it has these, I guess you could say it has science in it, and that's the key to it. Not only being sterile, okay? People think, oh, as long as it's sterile, it's good. You can't just inject any sterile oil into the muscle, okay? Number one, like I said, there's immune system issues, and then even if there's not, and you're just using an inert, medium chain oil, it's just going to be oil. It's not going to really do anything. It's got to be directed, okay, to the right spot. So it's got to, and also it's got to be activated by the right enzymes. So Chris, I tell Chris this all the time. He gets embarrassed when I tell him this. I told him, you're a bloody genius because you created something that's amazing. And I know in Europe they're testing it now for people with facial muscle defects. They're using it for sight enhancement, fat loss in women, specifically in the glutes. They're doing gluteal injections, and they're showing that not only is the muscle growing, but they're losing body fat. That's another thing also. When you hype the metabolism in the area you put this stuff, it actually causes a fat loss effect in the area, because what's happening is the metabolism is increasing in the muscles, and the muscle is using not only the oil you're injecting in there, but it's actually using the stored fatty acids in that area. So it has a localized fat burning effect. But I wouldn't suggest going and injecting into your abdominal muscles if you think you're going to get local fat loss there, because you'll probably just wind up creating a lot of scar tissue and it won't look good there, because that's not the kind of muscle it works well in. It works well in small, round muscles. Delts, to a certain degree, as long as you don't overdo it, okay? Biceps, triceps, the two gastrocnemius muscles, which are your calf muscles, works really well in there. I wouldn't do it much else. A couple people use it upper chest a little bit, if you use it in moderation. Once again, I do have some protocols that I do help people out with, if you ask me, to put it properly. Because once again, if you don't apply the stuff properly, then you know what, you're looking for trouble. It's going to look ridiculous. If you do it right, it's going to look great. No one's going to even know you did it. And that's the key. There's good artists and there's bad artists. Chris put out a great product. He still puts out the same product with the same high quality in it. Currently, we're up to the Generation 3 that's out there now. That's what I have on DavePalumbo.com, the Chris Clark Gen 3. And once again, it's a terrific product. And Chris, I don't know if Chris ever realized the impact that he would have on the industry, when he first did it back in the 1990s, but it's been, over 20 years now, and people are still consistently using it, and some people good, some people bad. I think more of the horror stories you hear out there and the cases of people misusing it are usually with brands that are not, are not legitimate. They're just people trying to make a quick buck. They use oils, they're not sterile, they're not inert. They have no science in them, and people wind up just doing kooky things with it. When you see these videos of these South American guys and women injecting it into every body part imaginable, and they have the ridiculous ones, that's not Chris Clark's product. They couldn't afford to put that much Chris Clark product. That's like cooking oil from the supermarket that they're heating up and putting in there. And that's why that looks ridiculous. And these people don't even have muscle. They're just kind of injecting oil under the skin, which is a disaster. And you've seen these videos where they're cutting open and filleting open these people's arms and squeezing out pus and bacteria infections, people getting amputations. The bottom line is that doesn't happen with this product if you're using it right. This is a highly sophisticated, high quality product that is not even in the realm of what these other morons are doing down in these other countries, just to get, to bring attention to themselves, so to speak. So once again, you get what you pay for. If you buy science, you get good results. And like I said, I think that it's a tremendous product. The great thing is there's no drugs in there. There's nothing illegal in there. And that to me is something that you can use safely and not have to worry about any kind of side effects or ramifications. I know Milos Sarcev claims that he injected some kind of synthol into his veins. I don't believe it. I challenge it. Matter of fact, I challenge someone to even try to be able to do it. It's very hard to get a 21, 22 gauge needle into a vein, okay? Even if you tried, much less by accident. So I don't really even believe that Milos necessarily did that. But, who knows? I guess anything's possible, right? Look, the bottom line is that there is responsible ways to do things. There's irresponsible ways to do things. I like to educate you. I know people are going to do whatever they want to do anyway, but I like to tell people what the responsible way is, using the right products, applying them properly, and that's really what it's all about. I'm Dave Palumbo with another RX Muscle Rant. I'll see you next week.